I'm Bruce Kirk from Phoenix 11. Imagine with me for a moment how confusing and how dangerous it would be if we didn't have street markings or signs or signals. You want to talk about a mess? How does all of that come together to make it work for us? Well, to find out, we're going to start right here at the sign shop where they make and they maintain all the signs for the city of Phoenix. Come on, let's go inside. Hey, Ron. Bruce Kirk.
Hi, Bruce.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Good to see you. They're great. This is Ron Dubeck, one of the key traffic engineers for the city of Phoenix. Now, we said we were going to look at the signs and see what you guys do. What is it you do here?
Well, we make all of the traffic signs, guide signs, street name signs, everything you see out on city streets for the entire city, we make right here.
Wow. Stop signs, everything?
Everything. Absolutely everything. In another room is where we fabricate them. This room here is where we store all of the completed signs before they go out in the field.
Now, you have some unusual signs to be
Sure do.
To be honest. So show me
Absolutely.
some of those.
Well, here's some unique ones we've made up. This is back when days when we had a trolley.
Oh my gosh.
We made this sign up, absolutely, but we designed it ourselves and put out a number of them out in the streets.
Wow, okay. What else you got?
Over here, we did one for a local charity affiliated with the city. We got their logo, they designed it, gave us the photography for it, and then we went ahead and made the signs.
Okay, so that'll go into a metal sign.
That's right, that'll go on a metal sign.
Okay.
And over here,
that's a neat one.
Yeah, this was for Heritage Square a while back when they were having the horse-drawn carriages.
Right, the carriages.
Right, and this is something we designed for them as well.
I'll be darned. Now, this is one we've heard a lot about lately. And
absolutely.
Hopefully these are not going to be collector's items anytime soon, but you had to make these too.
We did. These were the original signs that were put out when the Squaw Peak Parkway was originally built by the city back in the mid-'80s.
Wow.
And these were all hand-designed by our people. This sign was designed before the computers that we have today, so it was all handmade and took a number of days to do.
That's really neat. Now, what is this over here? This is huge. What is this?
Yeah, this is one of our reversible lane signs that we have on 7th Street and 7th Avenue to let motorists know when the reversible lane is in effect.
This is how big those big signs are that are up on 7th and 7th Avenue, 7th Street?
Yeah, this is 5 foot by 10 foot,
Wow.
and most people that come out here are really amazed on how large the signs are. They think they're much smaller out in the field, and they're astonished when they come in here and see this.
Yeah, that is huge. Hey, will you show me how you make the sign?
Absolutely, come on.
Okay, I want to see that. Hi, Ron, we were talking about making signs. Now, this is where you mass produce your signs.
Right, this is our silkscreen operation where we make the vast majority of our signs. Whenever we have to make 100, 200, 300 signs, we use the silkscreen process because of its cost efficiency and time.
And that's like yield signs, stop signs, whatever, mass produced signs.
That's right.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to Skip Schatz.
Hey, Skip. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
He does the majority of our silk screening, and I'll let him explain to you how the process works.
Great. What kind of signs are we making today?
Well, these are school zone signs, and with the new school year coming up, they're one of our #1 priorities.
I would imagine these and stop signs everybody wants.
Oh, yeah, like right away. So
how do you do these now? You've already got a color laid down.
Yes, the yellow is already down. This is a transparent yellow color. It's on reflective sheeting. Machine is already set up and ready to go. Now the next process is to put the final color down, which is black, which is what I was supposed to do right now.
Let's go ahead and do that then.
Okay.
It's a little noisy, so we'll bear with the noise.
A little bit.
It's come through pretty fast.
Yes, they do. It usually takes about 5 seconds per cycle. So
you've got your black paint already loaded in.
Yes, it is.
And boom, there's the sign. And then what do you do with that?
Well, the finished sign, I take and it's placed on a rack.
So it can dry.
Right, exactly.
And then you knock out another one.
Yeah, until I fill up a rack.
Okay, well, you go ahead and do a few of them there, and I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So these are on like a reflective paper right now. It's just paper.
Yes.
And then this will get put onto some metal later.
Yeah, they'll take it out and apply the sheeting to the metal blanks out into the fabrication room.
Right. How many of these do you do at a time?
School zone signs like these, we usually end up doing anywhere from 100 to 300 at a time, depending on how many they need. So,
why don't you show them what that looks like?
Okay.
Okay, well, Bruce, this is the finished sign.
This is the metal, and this is what Skip's been working on.
That's right.
Now, his process would take a couple of days to dry, is that right?
Right, it would normally take a couple of days to dry, and then we'll take the reflective sheeting and bake it onto the aluminum.
Which we'll see in the ovens later on with some of your street name signs.
That's right, we sure will.
Now, this is just one way you make signs.
That's right, we do have another process using a computer. And why don't we go take a look at that now?
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
So Ron, this is signs of the 21st century with computers?
That it is. Here we've got a work order of a sign that says no pedestrian crossing. And we just need to make 1 or 2 of these signs, and that's why we use the computer. If we have to make a lot of signs, we go ahead and use silk screening. But this is Martha Diekman, one of our traffic sign specialists, and she's going to show us how she makes the no pedestrian crossing sign. And what she's doing is she already has the border of the sign laid out. And what she's going to do is just type in the text of the sign we want. And she's setting up the letter sizes and so forth right now for it. And she's basically typing in 6-inch letters on this sign. But you can see, after she gets it centered, that the word pedestrian is going to be way too long. One of the neat things about this is she can, within a matter of a couple of seconds, go ahead and make the letters a little bit smaller. I think she's going to use like about 5 3/4-inch letters to make that word fit that sign. One of the things we try to do, and it's going to work well with this, is we want to exaggerate the word no to people to emphasize that fact. So she's not changing the letter size of the word no, just the words pedestrian crossing. So it stands out better.
And these kind of custom signs come along because of what? You just don't have a big need for these particular signs?
No, it's for this particular location, rather unique. So now she's gone ahead and done that, and now what she's going to do is have the computer cut out the letters onto the vinyl.
Now this is relatively new technology, right? I mean, has this been around very long?
It's been around for a few years. We got our first one 3 years ago, and then we just got another one last year. And a sign like this, typically, if you did everything by hand, would take a couple of hours. Here we're going to do it in just a matter of a couple of minutes.
Well, that is amazing. All right, so she's got it cut now, Ron. Now, what's she going to do?
Now she's starting the process of actually removing the excess vinyl from the sign face itself.
So she scores through there, and then she'll start peeling things back. It takes time.
Oh, yeah. And it takes a lot of handiwork and a lot of practice, because if this knife blade on the cutter doesn't do it just right, the letters aren't going to come out nice and smooth like they are right now.
So that's about the finished product there, Ron.
That's pretty much it right now.
And then you're going to take that and put that on a metal sign.
Right.
And actually you'll press it down like we've seen before.
Yeah. Now what she's going to do is she's putting it on a finished sign that has the reflective sheeting already applied to it.
This is a piece of metal.
Right. Piece of aluminum.
On the table here.
With the sheeting that's already been applied to it. And all she's going to do is squeeze roll these letters on that reflective sheeting. And when that's done, the sign is completed. All she's doing right now is making sure the letters are lining up properly on the sign face.
And then she puts this roller down.
She puts the roller down, and she's going to start the squeezing process. I see a couple of small bubbles she's going to have to remove, air bubbles, before she actually does it. But once she gets that done, she's basically going to lift back on this backing paper and just basically squeeze the letters onto the face. What she's doing now is removing the backing paper.
Plastic backing.
And she's going to
so now when this comes back down, it's going to stick on the metal.
It's going to stick on the metal.
And then she'll go back to the other half and do the same thing on the other half.
These are the only signs that we don't bake in the vacuum applicator.
And why is that?
Well, it's a different type of adhesive.
Okay.
This adhesive on this does not have to be activated by the heat, just pressure that's caused by this squeeze roller.
It's kind of like a peel and stick.
A peel and stick.
And it'll stay on there, even with the heat and everything outside?
Yes, absolutely. And she's removing a couple of little
bubbles.
Air bubbles.
Right. And then basically you got yourself a no Pedestrian crossing sign ready to go to be hung up.
Ready to go. It can be put out in the field right after we're done here. Okay, we're just finishing up the last piece here.
And this is the finished product, huh?
This is the finished. Signs all ready to go out in the field.
That looks great. Now, a question for you. How much of this metal do you have out in the garage? Do you have like a mountain of this stuff back there?
Well, we've got an inventory system, and I think you'd be a little surprised just how little we have.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's go take a look at that.
Okay, Bruce, this is where we store all of our sign blanks.
You know, Ron, when I look at this, it doesn't look like there's that many signs in here.
Not really. In the old days, prior to our computerized city inventory, these shelves used to be just stocked full and overflowing with sign blanks.
So how do you manage to get by now?
Well, now with the computerized inventory, we can do a better job of ordering. Just to give you an example, we used to have a complete inventory of both of our sign-making products and pavement marking products. The inventory is about $300,000. In the old days, prior to the computer, we'd have over $1 million inventory. Even with this reduced inventory, we're able to give the service level to the public the same.
So the computer age has made a big difference.
Absolutely.
Hey, what is this over here? This is kind of neat. This is a bit of a strange shape, though, for a sign.
Yeah, this is the type of sign blanks we use for our residential street name signs.
Can we see how you make these?
Sure. Why don't we go in and Mario show us how we make them.
Okay, great. Okay, now Ron, what's this?
This is where we make all of our street name signs for residential streets. Bruce, let me introduce you to Mary Jordan Soto.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Now, wait a second. We just did the computer thing, which seems like high-tech. This seems like we're going back in time.
Well, not really. Mary has been able to demonstrate that she can do these signs faster than on a computer, believe it or not, because they're all unique signs. She's not making 100 signs of the same kind. It's all unique. So Mary has it set up here where all the letters are ready to go, and she does this day in and day out, and she can actually do it faster than a computer.
Wow. Now, so what do you do now? She has a guide she works off of?
Yeah, this is a guide that we've developed a while back to help her productivity. And what it is we silk screen the guidelines on here for her, and we've also gone ahead and done the typical letters that show up on every sign, so it's just fewer letters she has to do, and it's just a matter of putting in the number here and the first two numbers on the block number, and it's ready to go.
And how many of these is she doing a day?
She does about 100 sign faces a day.
Wow.
But each sign assembly has 4 faces because of the intersecting streets. So she does actually about 25 signs a day.
And this is all on like a plastic material. Then what do you do with this?
Right, this is reflective sheeting. Once she's done and has the letters on, then we take it over to the vacuum applicator where we adhere the letters to the sheeting and the sheeting to the aluminum blank, which actually holds the sign up.
Can you show me that?
Absolutely.
Let's go see that.
Okay.
So Ron, those signs that Mary's just made, now you're going to put these onto metal.
Right. And Bruce, this is Al Stevens. He's the assistant to our sign specialist. And what he's basically doing now is taking the reflective sheeting, putting it on the aluminum, and taking it over to the vacuum applicator machine. And we're basically going to cook the sheeting and the letters onto the aluminum.
So Ron, every sign you make then has to go onto a metal, whether it's a stop sign, a school sign, whatever it might be.
Right. Basically, all of our signs are done this way. And then once it's done, again, we go over to that machine and we basically bake the sign faces on. Right.
So now what's he going to do?
Well, Al's put both signs on. Typically, we fill up the whole machine with signs, but in this case, we're just going to do the 2.
Okay.
What he's doing now is turning on the vacuum that's basically going to take all of the air out around the sign face to force that sheeting onto the aluminum blank. Now Al is going to turn the lights on and lower the top. And these lights basically act as an oven, and it's going to basically heat up the area around those signs to about 400 degrees and literally bake it.
All right, so now this is the finished product. These are the signs that have been baked down.
Right.
And they're on the metal.
Signs are baked down. All Al is going to do now is remove the signs from the machine, take the signs over here, remove the paper backing, and then he's going to take it over to the assembly room to assemble them.
And you do this for each of the signs.
Each of our signs are done this way.
2 face signs, and then you put them together in a cross, so you put them in an intersection.
That's it.
All right, let's see how they're assembled.
All right.
So these are the finished signs, and now you're ready to put them together and install them.
That's right. Al has already installed the brackets on the signs. Now, the signs were already riveted prior to being baked on. So all we're doing here is just separating the blanks so we can install them on the post.
And these are the street signs you'd see like out on a regular corner.
On all of our street corners, these are the signs
and this must be like a replacement sign. This is 29th Avenue and Polk Street.
Right. We either replace the signs, but also for brand new developments, we also install the initial signs as well.
It's quite a process when you think about from the riveting to the baking on to the signs and then finally the completion where Al gets to put it together.
Yeah, it's
a lot of steps.
A lot of steps. Okay, Al's got the assembly done. Now he's going to take it out into the yard for one of our installation crews to put it out in the field.
Okay, and this will get installed just like the sign that Skip made, which was the school sign.
That's right.
7-3, traffic 3. Traffic 3.
So Ron, this sign that we're seeing right here, this is the one that Skip made that you guys are installing right now.
That's right. That's the School 15 sign. And Matt Jimenez, one of our 19 sign installers, is out at 19th Avenue in Butler installing the sign for that school crosswalk.
And just like the intersection signs that we saw Mary making, these folks are out installing these signs all the time.
That's right. They repair, maintain about 40,000 signs a year.
Is that right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those are stop signs as well.
That's right. We have over 300,000 signs on city streets at any one time. And we take very seriously the quality of sign we have. So we do our own testing of all different kind of materials before we settle on the type of material we're going to use in the field.
This is kind of fun. Let's show you exactly how they test these signs. These are stop signs, 4 different signs, and we want to show people exactly the difference between the lighting on this. Why don't you explain, Ron?
Okay. The first sign that you see is the sheeting is called engineer grade sheeting, and it has been around for about 50 years. There are very small glass beads on that sign face, and that's what makes the sign reflective at night. It costs us about 76 cents a square foot, and it's kind of like a Timex watch. It just works for us. It's been old reliable for 50 years, and it lasts about 6 years out on city streets. The second sign we use is a high-intensity sign. It was developed about 20 years ago or so. It is more expensive, but it is about 4 times brighter than the engineer-grade sheeting. Because it's brighter, we use that on all of our overhead signs because the car headlights basically shine down on the roadway. Therefore, much less headlight are shined up on our overhead signs. So that's why we use the high-intensity sheeting out on our overhead signs. The third sign we have is a sign that we're testing. It's called diamond grade sheeting. It is 2 times brighter than the high intensity. We haven't used very much of it. It's about $4.50 a square foot, and we're evaluating it for some additional overhead sign installations. The last sign we have, the fourth sign, is a brand new technology that actually does not use any sign sheeting. It has all plastic, and basically the technology is the same as the tail light in your car with all of the cube corners. It just came out on the market a few months ago. We're going to be putting about 40 out on the city streets and be evaluating it. One of the exciting things about it is the potential for graffiti removal.
I'll tell you, Ron, it really is a neat process. It's neat to see how you make the signs, how you get them all together, and then how you install them.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. Most people don't realize what goes into it.
No, and I don't think people realize also there's other parts of your business that you're doing from out of here.
Sure is. Out of this facility, we do all of our pavement marking. Our crosswalk, long line, center line, raised pavement markers, everything for the city.
That's amazing.
In fact, Bruce, why don't I take you out and show you our real Lulu?
Lulu?
Lulu, sure enough. Come on.
Lulu. I want to see Lulu. Hi, Ron. Big Lulu. This is what you were talking about. What is this?
Well, this is one of our large paint stripers we have in the city of Phoenix.
Not the name I was expecting. This is not what I expected to see.
Not exactly, not exactly. But it's got some pretty good significance. Our original traffic engineer for the city of Phoenix, a gentleman by the name of Chuck Haley, his daughter is named Lulu. And he was the first traffic engineer to bid and purchase a large paint striper for the city.
Huh.
And that was a number of years ago, and we've now gone up to Big Lulu number 9, and it's got the latest technology for pavement stripers in the industry, and we are real proud to have them.
Now, what's this do? Show me some of the stuff down here.
Yeah, the machine basically does all of our pavement marking maintenance around the city. The machine has 2 tanks on it, one for yellow and one for white. Gives us a total of 500 gallons of paint.
Wow.
It also has a tank on the other side that holds 3,000 pounds of glass beads. The thing with the glass beads is We spray that on the paint so that at night you can see the pavement marking at night. It's reflective off your headlights. If the glass beads were not there, even though a line may look perfectly good during the daytime, you're not going to see the pavement marking at night.
Huh. And so the paint up here then comes down to these
Comes down here.
guns down here?
This is the paint gun right here, and this is the glass bead gun. As soon as the paint hits the pavement, then the glass beads are thrown with a pressure onto the paint and holds the paint. The paint starts drying in about 30 seconds, so we minimize the effect it has on the public behind us.
Is this the kind of paint, Ron, that I'd find at any hardware store?
Not exactly. This is specially formulated to hold up to traffic, and also a lot of money goes into research for quick dry times. If we have paint that dries like your house paint, and it takes maybe 20 minutes to dry, we would have vehicles with paint all over them. This paint will start drying in about 30 seconds, and about a minute it'll be totally dry, and that way we don't get paint on vehicles.
How about the environment? Whenever I think about paint, I think about the environment and you know, ecology and all that.
Well, we've made a lot of strides recently in that. Back in up until 1990, we were using solvent-based paints. However, with the environmental laws and personnel safety laws, we've gone to a water-based paint. Just to give you a little example, in 1990, we had 35,000 pounds of hazardous waste we had to dispose of. Much of it was through this process. Last year, we got rid of 419 pounds of hazardous waste.
Wow. How many miles do you paint in a typical year?
We have about 600 miles of major streets and collector streets we stripe, and we stripe each one of them twice a year. That requires about 50,000 gallons of traffic paint and 300,000 pounds of glass beads.
Well, why don't you show me how this baby works?
Sure, come on up.
Hey Reggie, how you doing? Bruce Kirk.
How you doing, Bruce?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What a big truck. Tell me about this. What do you guys do up here?
Well, this is Lulu Striper, and I'm a operator 3 for the city of Phoenix. And my main job is to try to keep the truck straight, about a foot away from the paint.
How often are you guys out painting? Every day?
Yeah, we paint from about 9 o'clock to 3:15 every day.
And what are these little things up here? Now, you're talking about keeping the truck straight. I assume that's what these are for?
Right. These are called bomb sights. And what they do is they set out a light in front of the truck that I can help to keep it square and keep it straight right along the edge of the line.
And if you don't?
If I don't, then the painter in the back has a hard time keeping the truck, keeping the line straight.
Let's start it up. See what's going on. Hey, Tony, Bruce.
Good morning.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
What a great truck. Now, what is this? Is this new?
Yes, this is a brand new truck that we received in April. Typically, we used to have just a plain arrow board. And with this sign, we can compute the signs to say whatever we wanted to say.
So you can give people real good directions on which way to go and what's going on up ahead.
Exactly.
Including the wet paint.
Including the wet paint.
Now is this where you pretty much do everything back here? This is the painting?
Yes, this is the main cab where we paint. We have a carriage on the right side, carriage left side.
These are like bubbles that stick out on the sides of the truck here?
10-4, that's where I stick my head out through so I can see the carriage.
So you can actually line up with the line.
Line up with the line and keep going straight.
Good.
Coordinate with the driver.
Well, let's go on inside.
Okay.
Tony, this looks kind of like a mini control panel back here. You got everything.
It's a nice little cockpit.
Let's start with this up here. What's this?
This is the main control box for your paint patterns. We have everything from double yellow to dash center line to 10-inch bars, left turn bars.
So all the different lines I'd see on a street, you've got there, and then you pick the one that you're going to be painting.
Exactly.
Okay.
We even have the reversible line on 7th Avenue.
Okay. So once you pick out the one you want, then what do you do?
Well, then you activate the switches. You say if I want to paint double yellow, I hit the button. And it won't paint till I touch this.
Oh, I see. And that's your trigger.
Here's the trigger.
So you press that every time you want the paint to be released.
Right.
And that releases the paint and the beads together?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's all we do. But we got to paint straight. Okay, all these are paint regulators. They regulate the pressure of paint. They regulate the pressure of the beads.
So you've got the paint, you're loaded and ready to go.
Yes, I am.
You want to paint?
Just go for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good job, Tony.
Thank you.
Pretty nice indeed. In fact, you know what? I think I can do better.
Yeah.
He's laughing.
Yeah.
Can I try it?
Oh, yeah, you're
All right.
welcome to try
Will you
it.
show me how to do it?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Sit down.
All right. That's the first thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Reggie, let's go.
Here we go.
See where the paint's coming out?
Uh-huh.
Line it up with that. Yeah, guide just temporary, just get you started.
I gotcha.
Be ready to turn it off when you want to.
Where's the off?
Okay, now
So that metal rod is just a guide, you said, to get you started. Then
Yes,
once you get started, then you line up with the paint itself.
Yes, you see
and you
the
watch
actual-
how it's coming out.
you see the actual paint coming out.
Right. Hey, Tony, thanks a lot. That was fun. Ron, quite a Lulu.
Well, thank you very much.
Tell you what. But now I know how you do everything.
Well, not exactly. We do have another operation. We use a material called thermoplastic on our crosswalks. Why don't I take you down to 15th Avenue Northern and show you that?
Okay, different truck.
Right.
Let's go see
Alrighty.
it. So this is the other operation for the intersections.
Right. This is our thermoplastic operation where we mark all of our crosswalks. We have about 5,100 white crosswalks that we maintain every 2 years. We've also got another 320 yellow crosswalks that are used for schools. We maintain those every year because of school children and our concerns about their safety.
But you don't paint these crosswalks.
No, it's a thermoplastic material, and what it is this solid material is put into these kettles right here and is heated up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It then becomes a liquid molten liquid that is used and put in a machine. And here we're going to have George put some material in.
So it goes in as a hard form.
As a hard form.
It gets heated and becomes liquefied.
Right, that is right. It also has glass beads in it, again, for the reflectivity at nighttime.
Okay.
All right, let's step over here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is where it comes out the other side.
This is where it comes out the other side, and it's heated up to about 400 degrees, and it comes down this valve, down this, into the machine, ready to go for use out in the field.
So now you're going to stripe the actual intersection.
That's correct. Floyd is going to come up here, and he's first going to face the machine this way to get a few feet of the pavement marking on thermoplastic down here. Then when he's done with that, he's going to turn the machine around,
Right.
and when the light changes red, he's going to go across. Again, we do it on the red light to try to minimize congestion to traffic.
And you put one layer down?
One layer down, about 60 or to 90 mils thick.
And this is just kind of a hot plastic?
It's a hot plastic material that gets very hard and can last up to 2 years on an intersection like this.
And how often do you do these?
Every 2 years.
So you do them every 2 years?
Right. Again, schools are every year, but we're concerned about the school kids especially.
Now what's he doing?
This is something the crew themselves came up with just a few years ago so that we can get traffic back moving again. We spray the thermoplastic with ice water, and within a matter of about 10 seconds, it goes from a 400-degree temperature down to about 100 degrees, which is the temperature of the pavement, and we can send vehicles across right away.
Now I'm sure there's a lot of people, Ron, that are asking, you know, as they watch this, it looks good, but why don't you just use a regular striper? Why do you have to use this sophisticated plastics?
Well, if we use traffic paint, the paint that on a long line such as that will last 6 months may last about 2 weeks, because every single car that goes across this street goes across this line, whereas on a long line, you're passing the lines but not really crossing them.
I'll tell you what, it's neat to see how you guys do the intersections here, but I got another question for you. What about these signals? How do you work the signals on the corners?
Well, we don't do the signals. The guy you need to talk to is John Prouse of our signal section, and he can tell you all about how the signals operate.
You get me over to him?
I sure can.
Let's do it.
All righty.
Hey, John, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
Nice to meet you. Now, we just spent some time with Ron, and we saw the striping and all the signs they put up. But, you know, he said we really need to talk to you because now this is all in your backyard with the signals.
That's correct. We actually control and maintain 848 signals within the city of Phoenix. At these locations, we've got 799 arrows. This particular location happens to have 4 arrows. There's 311 different locations with arrows alone in Phoenix.
So this intersection, 35th Avenue in Glendale, is kind of typical of what you've got around the city.
It's typical of our major intersections with 4 arrows in each direction. These particular arrows happen to be operated in what's called a third car mode, where we actually have to have 3 vehicles in the left turn lane before the arrow is truly displayed.
Huh. Now, I get the impression that you're dealing with a couple of things. I assume safety, but you also want to keep me moving, the traffic flow, right?
That's right. Safety is a major concern, and so is the traffic flow. We've got a lot of cars out there. We have to keep moving.
And I also get the impression, now you tell me if I'm wrong, that it seems like there's a light at every intersection. I mean, there's lights everywhere. Is it that bad?
Depending on the street you drive on, it does seem that way. We actually look at about 220 locations a year for a new signal. In the budget, there's money for about 8 or 9 new signals a year. So there really isn't that many going up. But it does seem like every week there's a new one put in your path.
Well, why don't you show me how you guys do that?
Okay.
Okay.
Bruce, this is one of the locations we actually count the cars.
You know, I've wondered about these things, John. I see these boxes kind of tied to a pole and then they're connected to this rubber hose. What is it you're trying to do here?
We're actually determining the volume of cars going in this direction at this intersection to determine if there's really a need for a signal.
And how do you decide where you're going to put one of these boxes? I mean, is it because I've called up? Is it because the police? Who determines that?
Well, it is from citizen request. The police could inform us of a location they feel could be deserving of a signal, and city personnel.
The million-dollar question, how many of these turn out to be signals? Because you test it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to put a light up.
No, there's many, many locations that get counted. We count about 220 locations a year. About 8 or 9 actually get signalized.
So like less than 5%.
Yes.
So this notion that you're putting up signals all the time, all over town, just isn't true.
No, it's not. Like I said, putting up 8 or 9, we have to choose the very best locations to put it up at. So this is just one of the factors that's taken into account.
And what else do you use to determine that?
The number of accidents and the type of accidents at an intersection. The crosswalk, if there's a school that has a crosswalk nearby, the pedestrian activity.
So a lot of factors, not just one.
Right. This is one that's most evident to people driving down the street.
Right,
Going
like
over
that.
loops. Yes.
Well, I want to see what this looks like when you get an actual signal in place and see how you then decide how to time that signal.
Okay.
So, John, once you decide where you're going to put those signals, I get the impression that I sit at these lights forever. Is that true?
It can seem like forever. It's actually 90 seconds to go through the complete sequence at each intersection.
Now, when you say complete sequence, does that mean all 4 directions?
Yes, all 4 directions. You know, we may start with east and westbound arrows, then we'll go east-west through, north-south arrows, north-south through, and included in there has to be the time for the pedestrians. All this will take place in a 90-second cycle.
Boy, it seems like it's a lot longer than that, doesn't it? You probably get people calling you going, I must have sat there for 5 minutes.
Actually, we get people who will tell us they sat there for 15 minutes, you know, and the logical question is why, but we'll go out and take a look at those locations, and they have sensors in the street, just like they do in the left turn lanes right here.
Now, what about those arrows? How do those work? If you've got a left turn lane and you've got an arrow, how do you sequence all those?
Okay, this one here in particular is a third car, as we talked about earlier. And it takes a vehicle in the first and third position to bring this arrow up. I'm not going to bring the arrow up for 1 or 2 cars. They will make it through on the green on their own without the arrow. That third car is in question. I don't know if he's going to get through. So we will bring the arrow up for the third car. And it's very difficult to sit at a left turn arrow with one vehicle there and actually have that come up when you've got 3 or 4 lanes opposing it trying to get through. Those people, the amount of time it takes for that left turn to turn is probably 2.5 times the amount to go through for the through traffic. So that one vehicle has probably stopped 5 or 6 people from getting through the intersection. That one vehicle is not that important. But if I get 3 or more, then they're not going to make it.
And the good news is, if you could make these light sequences longer, you would do it, but you can't.
I can't make it longer and keep the progression. Basically, what this 90-second cycle provides us is 40-mile-an-hour progression on our major streets. That basically is the start of every mile occurs at the same time, and it's 90 seconds between the two, giving you the 40 miles an hour between them. If I could make it longer and give you more green time and still allow the other movements to occur, I would. But I can't give you all the time I'd like to.
Hey, John, I think I know a way to beat the system. Can I show you? And this is what I'm talking about, John. If I pull up to an intersection, I've seen people do this. In fact, I've done it. I'll back up and forth a couple of times in hopes that I'm going to trip. What are you laughing about? In hopes that if I trip this, it'll make the light turn faster.
No.
It doesn't work?
It doesn't care how many cars are here. As long as a car is present at the intersection, when it looks to the side street. That's all that matters. And if you back up and
Right.
you're not present,
Right.
you're not going to get the green.
So it doesn't even know I'm here.
It doesn't know you're there.
So I'm not going to do that anymore. But I got another idea. Can we try something else?
Sure.
All right, I want to try something else and see if this works. Now, John, I've seen people come out of their car, push this button, and they figure that's going to make things sequence faster, right?
Not really. Again, that's another way of occupying their time. The intersection doesn't change any quicker for the pedestrian than it does for the car.
So how does the intersection like this work? What are you doing on the four corners to get people across, and how fast?
Okay, at this particular intersection, on the main street, we'll bring up the walk every time. On the side street, the walks have to be brought up by pushing the button. The intersection, at this particular one, I cannot give time for the pedestrians every single cycle. I've got too much main street traffic as opposed to the side street. So I will only give it when there's a pedestrian pushing the button.
This is a perfect example. You just press the walk button. Now, I often see that as you start across the intersection, like right about now, it's going to turn there. Don't walk.
Right.
It seems like you haven't given me enough time to get across.
Well, we've given you enough time to get started, and the flashing don't walk is going to give us enough time to get fully across the street before these guys get their green.
All right, I think I got the picture, John. What I'd like to do, though, now is I'd like to put you to the test. I want to try a road and see if the sequence of the lights works if I do the speed limit.
Okay.
All right, let's try it. All right, so this is kind of a typical street, John. And your theory is that if I do the speed limit, I don't race ahead like these guys have, but if I do the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, I should hit every light.
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, basically, if we could have saw ahead the next mile, each mile will turn green at the same time. 90 seconds later, they'll turn green again. So if we travel across that mile at 90 for 90 seconds, which would be 40 miles an hour in this case, then we will get there just as it's turning green. The half-mile street ahead of us, that will change 45 seconds into it.
So these cars that have kind of zipped ahead of me, the odds are they're going to catch the mile light too soon.
Yes.
Because they're going too fast.
Right.
So I'm not saving any time by trying to race ahead.
Not really. They will be there when we get there.
And then the light will probably just be changing shortly thereafter.
It may change a few seconds before us,
Yeah.
and that would all depend on if the arrow gets serviced opposing us or not when we get up there. That arrow can vary the starting time of this by about 11 seconds.
So how do I know what streets are timed this way and what streets aren't?
It started ahead this time without the arrow.
Right, it just turned green.
Right. Basically, all the major streets are timed like this at 90 seconds. So if we continue on at this pace, we will make the next half mile and the next mile
All green.
all green.
Without having to stop.
Yes.
But that won't work on all streets. There are some streets that have too many cross streets that cut into them that change all of that.
Right. That can be a factor, because basically what I can do is I can time the miles and the half miles for a two-way progression, which is both, in this case, east and west. I can time that. If I've got too many side streets, I cannot time it that way.
All right, now, John, we had the easy run, which was a street where there's a light every mile. Camelback is a whole different animal,
Yes, it is.
and there's a lot more streets here. I want to try this and see if we can make the same kind of time.
Okay,
All
let's give it a try.
Let's give it a shot. I think a road like Camelback is the kind of street that everybody has some kind of a challenge with, because it seems like there's lights everywhere. So now this is a case where, in some cases, the lights are spaced far enough apart that if I do the speed limit, I'll hit the light, but then I'm going to come up across another light that's so close that I can't get through it too.
Exactly. The mile and half mile signals, we can progress those just fine. When you start throwing in the quarter mile and the eighth mile signals, I cannot get my progression through that the same. As this is a mile street, we go through this one just fine.
Right, so this one's going to be green, but the problem is this is 16th Street. By the time we get to 18th Street, the light's going to be red, and I'm not going to be able to keep my progression.
Right, we may or may not catch 18.
Right. I've already slowed down now. I'm below 20 miles an hour, so I can't even do the speed limit.
No.
And it's again because, well, there, 18th is already red. We've just cleared 16th, and we're going to hit a red light when we get to 18th.
Yes, we are.
And I'm doing about 30 miles an hour.
I'll tell you what, if you want to pull over, we can go over a time-space diagram.
Okay.
And I can actually show you the effect that we're seeing here.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so John, what do you got here? What's this?
Okay, I'm going to draw a time-space diagram.
Okay.
What we'll show actually is, okay, this is a distance of a mile street. We'll put a half-mile street in between. We'll set a 90 seconds, which is how long it took us to drive down these streets. Basically what we're going to show here is that we have the red on the mile streets, and the green will start at the beginning of the 90 seconds. 90 seconds later, that green will begin again. And this is us traveling down the road. We've got a band that we can travel within down the street. At the same time, the people in the opposite direction have that same band coming this way. As we saw earlier, at the half-mile streets, we don't have any problem.
Mm-hmm.
It takes us 45 seconds going one direction and 45 seconds going the other direction to get to this point.
Right.
Along Camelback, we throw in some other intersections, then I have a problem. If I throw another intersection in right here, people traveling this direction arrive at that intersection in 22 seconds, but cars coming this direction take them 68 seconds to get to that intersection. Who do I give the green to? During morning and PM times, I can progress it one direction or the other. It's this midday time, like now, that I can't prefer one direction over the other. So I kind of hurt both directions a little bit without hurting anybody terribly.
So I'm going to have to stop any way you look at it.
We hope not, but if you can alter your speed in that band, which there is a little bit of room, you can make them, but it's not going to be as clean as the mile and a half miles.
I gotcha.
Well, I'd like to take you and show you some of the things we're doing for the future.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Hey, John, this is kind of the wave of the future, but it's today. What is this?
Well, this is one of our 3 present camera locations that we have. And we're able to, with these cameras, watch the downtown area, especially special events is our main focus of these right now.
Now, these went online about the same time Bank One Ballpark opened up, is that right?
Yes. Actually, it was timed very close to that. We were able to get our fiber in and actually get these cameras up and operating in time for the opening day, which helped alleviate some of the difficulties we were expecting.
Now, when you say watching downtown, people immediately, I think, have that idea of Big Brother. This is not what that's about.
It is not. We're actually trying to help them out the best we can, both vehicular and pedestrian traffic with these cameras.
And you've got, you say, 3 of them downtown now.
We have 3 of them presently running.
More to come?
Yes. We have another one coming up at 7th Street in Jefferson, and we have a remote one that's going to be coming back to us on telephone line from 7th Street, Dunlap, Cape Creek.
And you can use these for emergencies, for events, for all sorts of things.
All sorts of things. And in fact, we actually have some other camera, we have one other camera location that's at 23rd Avenue in the Outer Loop Freeway. That's actually detecting cars through machine vision.
Huh. Now, how do you control all these?
Well, we have a traffic management center up on the 6th floor of City Hall. If you'd like, we can go up there and see it.
Yeah, let's go take a peek.
Okay.
That's good. Oh, John, this is incredible. What is all this?
This is the City of Phoenix Traffic Management Center.
Now, these cameras actually move. This is near where we were this morning.
Yes, it is.
And you can monitor what from here?
We can monitor all the cameras and all the intersections.
And you do that electronically?
Yeah, do telephone lines and fiber optics for the cameras.
Can you show me how some of that works?
Sure, we can show you the intersection we're at this morning.
Okay, good. All right, so like we were just talking, you can monitor intersections from here at the computers.
Yeah, this happens to be a shot of the segment on Glendale Avenue.
Where we were this morning.
Right,
Okay.
we can pull into an intersection. Here's 27th Avenue. And we'll actually watch the greens as they occur out there. Right now it's a north-south green.
Right, so you've got north and south, that's the green arrows.
Yep.
And people that are going east and west have to stop right now.
Right.
So now you monitor this to see if the sequences are working okay?
Exactly. And we'll watch it. It should go to yellow here. There it is. And we'll see it then go to an east-west green.
Gotcha. Now this is, as we talked at the intersection of 35th and Glendale, which is just down the street, this is that 90-second cycle?
Yes.
So that all the way around takes 90 seconds to complete one cycle.
Yeah, it does. And we can actually monitor that for compliance with this extra little piece of screen here, which tells us that the actual cycle length last time was 89 seconds.
89 seconds, okay.
And going over the telephone line, plus or minus the second of communication, is normal.
So if you have a problem in an intersection, then you can pull it up on this computer, and does this cover all the intersections in the city?
At the moment, we don't have all of them on there, but they will be all connected at some point in time.
And you can check and see how everything's doing?
Yeah, we can actually do a lot of troubleshooting from here before we send a technician in the field, or when we do send a technician into the field, he's got a better handle of what's going on out there.
So you have, I would imagine, John, a better overview now of what's happening in the city than we would have had a few years ago before this was available.
Yes, very much.
You can see things and understand where your traffic problems might be.
Yeah, we get reports of when it's on flash. Any malfunction out there, the controller can tell us, it does tell us. And then we can dispatch immediately.
So John, can we see up there one of those cameras to see what you can monitor from here?
Sure, I'll put it on the big screen.
Okay. Now this is one of the downtown cameras?
Yeah, this will be our camera at 3rd Street and Jefferson.
Okay, and tonight, for example, there's a Diamondbacks game downtown, so we can see a lot of the foot traffic and some of the cars. Actually, it's not all that bad, though, is it?
No, right now, it's looking pretty good out there. We've made a lot of timing changes.
In the light sequences?
Yeah, we move it here to the northbound and see what's happening up at
People coming from the north?
Yeah, 3rd and Washington. One of the areas we have some police control. There it is right there.
Oh, okay.
As you can see, we don't have that much coming down right now.
Yeah, I mean, the game's only, as we're doing this, only about 20 minutes away, so you're
Yeah.
doing real well in traffic.
Yeah, that's really not bad. People look like they're getting in just fine tonight.
You found early on that you had to make some adjustments because you were getting traffic backed up?
Yeah, particularly 3rd Street here, we were getting backed up, and we've made a lot of changes. In fact, one day we made almost 20 timing changes.
In terms of allowing more traffic flow in a certain direction?
Yes. The people coming in, we gave them as much time as we could without interfering with the other traffic.
You know, when we were at the intersections this morning, like at 35th and Glendale, we talked about that sequence, that 90-second sequence, which included the pedestrians.
Right.
I would imagine downtown, like we see here at 3rd and Jefferson, you've got a real problem because you've got a lot of foot traffic and a lot of car traffic.
We do. Typically, we run a 60-second cycle downtown during the daytime. For special events, we run the 90, and we give that extra 30 seconds to both the pedestrians and the cars.
Okay. So you get more time for the pedestrians to get across and the traffic to get through the lights.
Right.
Do other departments use them, like the police?
Yeah, we've occasionally had the police in here, and they use it to deploy their resources to the best they can. It gives them an overall view of what's going on downtown.
Now this camera here is on 3rd Street and Jefferson looking back toward the America West Arena.
Yeah, that's actually looking at the intersection of 2nd Street and Jefferson.
Okay. So you can use them for a variety of things.
Yes, we can.
And you're expanding. You're trying to put in more.
Yeah, we are. We're putting another one up at 7th Street, Dunlap Cave Creek.
Well, that's a big intersection.
Yeah, that is. That's a real tight area up there where the two mountain passes come down and converge on one point. So if either one of those mountain passes have trouble,
Backups.
back up the whole thing. And with that there, we'll be able to adjust the timing the best we can for each morning's condition.
And how soon will that be online?
That should be online this fall.
Oh, okay, good. So John, where do you see us going in the future?
Well, in the near future, we're going to be talking to all the other TMCs in the valley from here.
And that would put us in the same sort of a situation as some other cities in the country that are looking into the future with their traffic.
Yeah, there is. There's 4 model deployment initiative areas, one being the Phoenix area, the other ones being Seattle, San Antonio, New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. It's really exciting to be part of that.
And it's kind of fun, isn't it, to look into the future but do it today?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. This has been a great tour to see how you guys operate, not only with this, but all the stuff on the streets. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Appreciate your time, John.
No problem.
And also, we want to thank Ron Dubeck from over at City Traffic Engineering, where they handle all the traffic signs, they handle all the striping, as we saw. There's a lot to consider when you think about what goes into getting around the valley for all of us. And that takes us to the next millennium as well. As you look at this whole area of our county, you look down here toward the Superstition Freeway and toward Mesa. How about here toward the north on I-17 and the Carefree Highway? Or maybe toward Wickenburg. Consider, if you will, in the next millennium that all of this area could be encompassed in a computerized system that could control our traffic flow and our movement. Kind of exciting. Hope you've had fun. We've had a great time putting this together. We'll see you back here next time. I'm Bruce Kirk.